Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my good people out there. Welcome to another episode of the Sit Down with me, Dedi Seyi. And I'm very well privileged and very proud to host this absolutely amazing comedian from Winnipeg, Manitoba. He's South Sudanese by origin, but he's Canadian, and he's been doing his thing for a while now. Thank you, Emmanuel. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you just had your special on Friday. How did that go?
It went, honestly, I was very excited with how it went. You know, is the one thing that you're always worried about is, are people going to show up, right?
Yes.
Because it's going to, you already paid the monies to have everything recorded and the setup in the room and everything. But if no one shows up, you still have to record it with an empty room, So, but people came out. We almost sold out both shows, which is great. So it was a full house. A lot of laughs. It was a great time. The crowd was very high energy, so it was really easy to perform that night.
Oh, okay. So what's the special thing about these specials that you comedians shoot? Like, what's so special about it? Why do you need a special?
It's more so just to kind of like, well, for myself, it's my first one, my debut one.
Okay.
So it really just wanted to be like, show really the industry that I am serious about comedy. You want to put together something that, really shows them who you are.
Yes.
With a special, there's usually some sort of theme, right? You want to create a theme. Sometimes people just do specials just to do specials, but sometimes you want to have a theme with it, right? Or showcase something, right? So the theme for this one, I called it Daydreams. That's the name of the special as well.
Okay.
Whereas just, something where you're chasing your dream, right? Even whenever I'm at work, because that's how people always ask, when do I write? How do I come up with jokes?
Yeah.
It's just living life, Just I don't know when I'm gonna come up with a joke or something, but it's just like I might be at work or I might be, just hanging out with friends or just going on a walk, but I don't know when that thought's gonna come into my head. So I'm just sometimes daydreaming, and then it's like, this is. So that was the whole theme behind this one, right? And this is just like a first thought where I'm like, I think it's time to put something out, something out so I can start to try to get more recognition, really show people that I'm taking this seriously.
Okay. How long have you been doing this?
This is it's a weird time because of the pandemic, so this is technically year 3, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So not too long.
Okay. Well, you seem to be doing well for yourself. 3 years is not too long, but you're really up in the game.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? Because that's also the name of your podcast, right?
Yeah. So what's Emmanuel thinking? That's with the podcast, it's funny because a lot of comedians have podcasts and people always create podcasts, and without direction, it's very tough to like be consistent. So with mine, it's just like, what am I thinking at the time? I don't, I didn't want it to be a podcast where I have to be funny, because for myself, like in my day-to-day life, people, like I crack jokes obviously, but sometimes I'm just thinking about things randomly,
Okay.
So it's just a place where I could just discuss anything, right? It isn't I'm making jokes the whole time. Sometimes I'm talking about life, sometimes I'm talking about growing up, reflecting on past experiences, some things that I've learned, some things that I don't understand, right? So very much like, that's why I always like to get an idea of like what people expect when they hear the podcast, right? Because sometimes they're like, oh, I was expecting it to be jokes the whole time. And then some people are like, oh yeah, no, there was funny parts, but I didn't expect you to be so introspective, right? So so it is definitely different, but I try to make it a podcast that doesn't have, like, I don't have the pressure to have to be funny, just very
you don't
much
have to conform.
Exactly. Just be honest to myself,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talking about growing up. So
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Emmanuel and where did you grow up? Where were you born?
Yeah. So family is from Sudan, Khartoum.
Okay.
But I was born in Cairo, Egypt. Yeah. So a very big family, 4 brothers. 4 sisters, 2 brothers.
Yes.
And I'm the youngest of all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so during the war, we fled from Sudan to Egypt, and that's where I was born, and then we came to Canada. So when I came to Canada, I was very, very young. I was 2-3 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so very young. So I grew up in Canada the whole time, elementary school, junior high, high school. So growing up was very much, the Sudanese community was where I kind of grew up in terms of getting my Sudanese experience. So because I wasn't in Sudan, and when we were in Sudan, a lot of fleeing. There's no time to sit down there. So finally coming over to Canada, being in the community is kind of where I learned a little bit about Sudan and that. But primarily, like, I was raised Canadian. Okay. Went to school in Canada, all university in Canada. So it's a very a weird place to be. I always tell people, and I'm working on this for my next special, my next album. Okay. Is just like it's a very weird space where I talk to Sudanese people and they're like, well, he's not really Sudanese. But then I talk to Canadians and they're like, well, he's not really Canadian. So now I'm in the middle.
It's between a rock and a hard place.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Whereas,
Okay. I don't want to make the assumption. Let me hear it from you. You mentioned you were born in Sudan. We have two Sudans. Which Sudan are you talking about?
South Sudan.
Okay. So because I made the assumption from your last name, Lomuro.
Yeah. Lomuro,
I made the assumption that you are maybe the son of a very prominent cabinet minister in South Sudan. Is that the case?
Yes, that is the case. Yeah.
You really are his son?
Yeah. Like, that's my uncle. My uncle.
Oh, that's your uncle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my uncle. Yeah.
Small world.
It is. It's very funny because not a lot of people even know that, right? Not many people know. And whenever I tell people in Canada that I'm just like, I have relatives that are pretty in politics. They're pretty high up in politics. Yes. They don't understand. They like, because for them, their ideas of politics is the Western world, where everything's so far removed. It's just very, Justin Trudeau or the president and this, that, and the other. They don't wrap their heads around, like, they have families that have extended families. Right? So whenever I tell them, I'm like, my uncle is one of the cabinet ministers in Sudan. They're like, then how did you end up here? I'm like, war is war. Like, civil war doesn't care what your last name is. You have to get to safety, and my family made the decision that was best for them at the time, right? Which was coming to Canada. So. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And just for folks out there, I'll make it a mention that we are talking about the Honorable Martin Elia Lomuro, who is a cabinet minister in South Sudan currently. So, and this is a good part. Maybe I should start from here. You've gone to South Sudan, or you've not gone to South Sudan since we had our independence in 2011.
I haven't gone. I want to go, but I know it's very, I don't know if it's difficult, but the timing. My brother and my sister have had the opportunity to go. They went back in 2012, actually, so just the year right after the independence, and they said it was just a very eye-opening experience. Like there's just, it feels like home. One of those things where you don't know that you're missing it until you go back and touch the land, and that's one thing that they'll always say was the most important part of the experience was like, you don't even realize that you don't realize you're not home if you've never been, but then when you finally go back, there's just that overwhelming feeling of like, oh, this is where I'm from, so that's one thing that I do want to be able to experience in my life.
Yeah, I do encourage you to find the time to go. It will be an eye-opener, and it will be an amazing experience too. And one advice I'll give for you is when you go, you make sure your pocket is full. Because between me and you, like if the both of us went home, I think most of the time they'll go towards you because you're a big man, and they'll think you have all the money in the world, right? So just make sure when you're going home, you're loaded.
Yeah. I've heard when you go there, your suitcase will be full. When you come back, it's empty.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it's normal. Just give what you have. We have stuff here.
Yeah. South Sudanese life is all about sharing.
Yeah.
Even our food, we all eat together. We eat with our hearts. We eat with family. Everybody. When you come to the house, there's an auntie, there's an uncle, there's a brother, there's a sister, there's a cousin. Everybody. We don't even have the word cousin. We're
Yeah.
all brothers and sisters. In our language, there's no word for cousin.
Yeah.
So I will encourage you to find the time and go and visit. South Sudan is a very beautiful place. And of course, where we come from too, it's an amazing environment. It's something that you'll treasure for the rest of your life.
Yeah, definitely.
So paint me a picture in words of your life growing up, because I believe you grew up here in Winnipeg mostly, right?
Yeah, in Winnipeg. So I'd say it was very early on was I'd say that if I was to paint the picture or tell the story, early on would be confusion. That would be the first stages of my life. Very confusing because, like I said, very much trying to balance between, my Sudanese side and being a kid and just not understanding how things operate here in Canada. And then the winter comes and then it's cold, -30, -40, snow until your knees. So always just trying to find a place to be, right? And trying to learn new things and making friends and this and the other. And and then obviously, not growing up very wealthy, growing up in poorer areas, being able to navigate. But the one thing that people always wonder is when you grow up poor, they just think it's that must be tough. You don't know what's happening, especially when you're a child. You don't know the struggle that's going on. I'm just thinking about playing every day. I'm just playing, I don't know the sacrifices that are going on in the household. I don't know what's happening. I don't even know where the food comes from. I just know that when my mom cooks, I come eat. That's exactly it, right? But then, as a child, right? So it's very much just playing and having fun, being very oblivious to the world, and then starting to get a bit older, and then, that's when the tough decisions are being made, right? Where it's just like, are you hanging out with the good friends or the bad friends? Who's making the good decisions, who's making the bad decisions, and especially in a city like Winnipeg where there is high crime. My mom kind of made the decision to keep me and my brothers away from, going downtown where a lot of it was happening, right? So that was, and a lot of the times that wasn't the best thing because that's where the community center was. That's where a lot of the Sudanese people used to be. So we would come to some events, not all the time, right? But it was more about being safe, right? Because there was a time in Winnipeg where a lot of young Sudanese boys were joining gangs. But it was just, again, about a sense of community. And it always started out innocent, right? It always starts out, we're just playing soccer in the field. We're just playing basketball. We're just doing this. It's just very, it starts out play and then eventually, let's come hang out here, just go drop this off and then you're off, right? And what happens is you start to see the money, they'll start to see money coming in, right? So, coming again, if you're poor and someone's giving you a way to make money, it's very tough to navigate through that, right? But my mom made sure that we kind of stayed away from that. Finished school, went to university, and then by then, we're able to understand the landscape by ourselves and kind of make those decisions on our own, where it's all just like, okay, is this where I want to be? What do I want to do with my time? Start to find goals. But again, early 20s still for me was very, I'd say that comes back again to a new level of confusion, right? Where I played basketball my whole life. I was able to play for the provincial team, went to nationals as very young. Yeah, it was very, very great experience at 15 years old. So I got to see the levels of basketball. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, I'm going to go play professional basketball, this, that, and the other, be like Luol Deng,
of course,
But then I went to nationals and I saw the level that was the next level. And then I said, okay, maybe basketball is not not the one.
It's not cut for me,
Exactly, right? Especially being in Canada where it's just it's even tougher. And at the time. So the one highlight I'd say about that is we playing for Team Manitoba. We went out to BC for the Western National Conference. We got to play against provinces from across. So we played against British Columbia, Alberta, but then Toronto is the big one. Toronto, every year that they went out before then, they were number one.
Oh, wow.
So on their team, very strong team. Most of the team that I played against, they went to play for big colleges in the United States. A couple went on to the NBA, especially one person, his name was Anthony Bennett.
Oh, okay.
Right, so I don't know. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Anthony Bennett.
I think I saw a few clips of him. Yeah.
So he ended up going #1 overall in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
So we played against his team,
Yeah.
and that was the game that I realized I'm not going to go play professional basketball. We lost by maybe 70 points. It was so.
Oh wow.
It was.
You guys were like the Grizzlies back in the day. Right?
Exactly. And it's because we're playing other teams and games are close. We win some, we lose some. But this game in particular was just, they were just so heads and tails better than us in every way. Like more athletic, faster, shoot better. And I was just like, okay, this is the level that gets to the next level. I guess this is where I stop. You know, maybe I'll go university and then decide then. But then coming to university, right, early 20s, that's when, you know, you're trying to figure out what do you want to do with your life.
Yes.
You know, what am I doing in university? Because I went there to play basketball, but now I don't think basketball is realistic.
Oh,
so
wait.
Now
so you got into university through a basketball scholarship?
Yeah. So I went to U of W. I played on the U of W college program.
Okay.
Yeah, which was great. You know, you have the opportunity to be in university, taking courses, and you know, some of it's subsidized. So that also helps too. But you know, in university, it's very tough. If you don't know what you're doing, it's very expensive. You know, it's a very expensive decision to be making. You know, taking classes, they're thousands of dollars, and you have no plan. That's the things add up very quickly. So, you know, I ended up making the decision. It was a tough decision where, you know, I was like, you know, it may be basketball. I need to quit basketball. And then decide what I want to do. Because right now, the only reason why I'm coming back to school is to be eligible for basketball. But this is not feasible, you know? So I had an opportunity to work in insurance. Yeah, so I got my insurance license, and then I got my investment license. So my being able to, you know, to sell and trade mutual funds, which was really good because that gave me the opportunity to go work in finance. Yeah, so I was in finance for about 3 or 4 years, trying to find and again, you know, when you start something, you're very excited about it. Oh, this is what I'm going to do. But then the one thing that was a challenge and a hurdle was often in finance, because it was self-employed, the people that had money don't want to give their money to a 21, 22-year-old that has no life experience, right? And then the people that would be willing to work with me, they have no money. So it's very hard to make an income without any sort of any sort of ground to stand on, right? So again, another one of those situations where it's like, okay, what am I going to do now? Where do I turn? And that's when I started to work. I found some friends that worked in tech. They worked in tech, but very small startup at the time. It Skip the Dishes. Well, Skip the Dishes now. Huge company, but at the time when I was working there, they had 2 floors in a building downtown Winnipeg, and they weren't as big as they were. Like, it was still very much a growing company. But
is it Skip the Dishes? Is it a Canadian Winnipeg company?
So that's where it started. It started
really?
It started in. So the founders are from Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, but started in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Very small company.
Wow.
Now it's global entity. It's been acquired 3 times over. Now they're tied in with European. They're $1 billion conglomerate, global, big entity. Just Eats Takeaway. So they've really turned. All those founders, they made their money. They got paid out hundreds of millions of dollars. They're sitting in a castle somewhere. I don't know what they're doing.
Wow. You should have like thrown in a few dollars right now.
I know, right? So I was able to learn a lot because it was a growing company. So I was able to kind of navigate my way and, you know, help build some teams there, help build some processes there, which gave me my footing just kind of in the tech industry. And then realizing I'm like, oh, I can actually navigate through here. And make a name for myself in tech, right? So I was able to do some really great things with that company, and then moving to, you know, other startups as well too, and working in those spaces, which I still actually work in tech today. Now, in addition to doing comedy, right, and starting. So I guess the end.
Sorry for cutting you. What do you particularly do in tech? Do you do like software design?
I actually do. I'm strategic growth and project management right now currently.
Okay.
Yeah, I started out in account management.
Yes.
And then moved to enterprise account management.
Yes.
So a lot of the times I was dealing with, multi-million-dollar organizations.
Yes.
Some of them, like at Skip the Dishes, I was the account manager for Subway and Tim Hortons.
Yes.
I was part of their national launch. So before they were on the network,
Yes.
it was myself and the team that launched them across the country.
Oh, wow.
Over between the two of them, over 3,000 locations,
Yes.
Canada wide. So I was able to actually go across the country and do all the onboarding for them. So they sent me from BC all the way to Ontario to do presentations for hundreds of owners, the executives, just to show them how to be successful on Skip the Dishes, what Skip the Dishes is, and really get that buy-in across the country and being able to help them join the network. And now, so that's just one of the interesting things I was able to participate in. The other thing is, POS integration. So that's one thing where if an order comes through the tablet that's when the restaurants can actually inject that directly into their internal POS system. So that was never a thing before.
For the non-technical people out there, explain the technical term POS. What's that?
Yeah. So the point of sale. So that's where they take your payments. Yeah. So that's where they take your payment, right? So usually with this food delivery app, so Uber, Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, all of them, they have their own tablets that they give to the stores.
Yes.
So when someone places an order, it goes to the tablet. But what they used to have to do is they'd have to take the order from the tablet and then go punch it into their system. Okay. Right? But then what we did at Skip the Dishes is we created a way that it automatically goes to their internal system, which saves them so much time, avoids errors. Yeah, and we were the first people to ever do that in history, right? Like it's very weird to say because it's like, this is the first time in history that this is ever done, because food delivery is like before you could only get Chinese food or pizza. And then these apps came and now you can get anything you want, right? So it's a very new industry. Wow. And we were able to kind of trailblaze a new way of placing the orders. Yeah, exactly, right. I remember I was actually there for the first ever injected order in Canadian history and world history. It was at a Tim Hortons just down the street from my place. Okay. And we went there, and I remember they placed the order. Everything was just quiet for like a couple minutes. Just everyone's waiting to see if it works. Right? But very exciting moment, right? Where it's just like this is what history feels like. So it was very cool to be a part of that team and a part of that program.
Oh wow, trailblazing.
Yeah,
it's more like discovering fire, right?
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So I guess you interacted with the founders. How many founders were at Skip the Dishes?
I believe there was about four founders there.
Okay, and you interacted with them personally?
Yes. So I was able to talk with them. There's one in particular that I was able to actually work with directly because he was like in charge of the growth program. So working with him and getting some of these large brands, he was one of the catalysts that kind of was able to step in the room and have all the expertise, right? Talk to the history of the company. So working closely with him was very, very interesting to see how someone of that caliber operates. Yeah. Right. And understanding that it's just like, you truly have to be the expert in the room. Yes. And, and have all the answers no matter how that goes. Right. So it was very nice to see and work closely with him. And I learned a lot that way.
Yeah. So that professional side of you still keep pursuing it, or you're going to lean towards comedy some more? My plan is to lean into comedy and take that as far as I can go. Yes. But I understand, in this day and age, it's very different. People talk about, success and everyone wants to be motivated, and they hear all these stories about their favorite actor or their favorite, whatever it might be, and how they came up, and they talk about, I was on my last dollar. I was doing we all hear these stories, and they're very romantic, but they're not logical. They're not logical. We're in a time where you can do both. You have to be patient in what you're doing, right? And I made that decision, right? Because I've tried to do stuff and I'm all like, I'll just work until my last dollar. It doesn't make sense. I have bills to pay,
and also people don't realize it hurts you. It hurts your craft because when you're stressed about basic things, you can't focus on what you want to do creatively. And that's one thing I found. So for me, keeping my professional side and aspirations intact while chasing my dreams is very important to me, because now I can pay my bills, I can rest, I can travel. If I need to do a show in Toronto or in Alberta or BC, I have the ability to go take myself there. But I can still chase that side of it, right? So, and being in tech, one of the perks is I work full-time remote. So as long as there's the internet connection, I can be at work. So I can go wherever I need to be without having to worry about, clocking out. But it's very important for people to understand, like, you don't have to work until your last dollar. You'd have to be able to balance, because that's truly where you find success, is being able to balance both lives.
Yeah. I guess you're the right person for me to mind your mind in terms of setting up something lucrative in South Sudan, right? Because our country is very fertile in terms of that. Everywhere is still fresh. So there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Exactly. A lot of potential.
Oh, okay. So you talked to us about your mom bringing you, but you haven't mentioned much about your dad.
Yeah, my dad.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about that side of your family?
Yeah, my dad, like I mentioned, very political man. He came up family in politics. When he was younger, he was in the military. Very, very stern man. Very, traditional Sudanese man.
Traditional African man.
Yeah, exactly. Very traditional African man with very. I want to speak lightly because he's my father, right? Very rigid way of thinking, I'll say. I remember being young, and it was just very, stern, rule with, my way or no way, kind of thing. And growing up, it wasn't always the best way. But I can't say that it was wrong or right, but I turned out great. That's the one thing. A lot of people always talk about, oh, my parents did this, my parents did that. But are you okay? Like, if you're fine, if I grew up, like, the person I am today doesn't happen without my whole life experience. So whether I agree with the way that he operated his household, or if I don't, it worked, So I can't stand here today and say I'm a good person without saying that whatever happened didn't mold the way I am. So whether, and that's the funny thing, people always need to remember, like, you can learn things from both ways. Like I said, so very stern and rigid way of parenting and operating his household and living his life. And sometimes in my life I see, I'm like, you know what, there's sometimes when you can't falter from what you see as your morals, right? You need to understand that what you're doing is right, and you have to follow that path. But then sometimes you might look at it and be like, oh, this wasn't the right way to go about it. But it's all about learning.
So you mentioned about the parenting. Sometimes some people don't really understand, right? African parenting is like spoil the child or spoil the road. So it's an option that they choose, and it works for them. And different people take it differently. But I guess the final product is the biggest thing, right? You turned out
exactly.
good. Many people didn't turn out good. The way you mentioned it, crime in Winnipeg. Your mom would tell you, don't go downtown. Don't do this, don't do that. And you made the option. You made the choice to not follow that. I used to do a lot of community in Vancouver. I went to school in Vancouver, but now I live in Edmonton. And there were actually boys and girls that were growing up right in front of our eyes. And I could see those who made the option to go right and those who made the option to go left. And those who made the option, for example, to go into the life, the drugs and all that, some of them ended up dead here in BC, some on the streets. Those who made the choice to go straight to school and focus and do this and do that, turned out really great. People are, pushing. So I congratulate you for making that choice. It's made a big difference. And it's also a good thing to show the community and people out there that, making those right choices does make a difference in people's lives. So I'll go back maybe to your comedy side.
Yeah.
What are some of the most memorable moments you've picked up in the 3 years that you've done comedy?
I'd say just there's a comedy club in Winnipeg called Rumors.
Okay.
So it's actually Canada's longest independent comedy club. They've been open. They're coming up on their 40-year anniversary.
Okay.
So they have a contest every year called Funniest Person with a Day Job.
Okay.
So I won that contest back in 2021 or 2022. Sorry.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I won that contest, and then they made me a host.
Okay.
So I host there every week, and they bring in some of the best comics in the world, honestly. So I get to meet these people. I get to meet all these great comedians from the United States, from Canada. Yes. Some household names, and these big comics. I always get to talk with them. So that's always one of the most exciting things in comedy.
Throw us some names so we can know Emmanuel is hanging out with the high and mighty.
Well, there's it's a range. It's funny because in comedy they're very big names, but to everyone, so like there's like people like Brian Simpson, for instance. He's like a young up and coming comic. I think he's about to have a Netflix special coming up very soon. He's from Austin, Texas. There's someone like Doug Stanhope, who's a very big New York comic. There's people like Sugar Sammy, very big comedian. He's French and Canadian here from Montreal.
Yes.
But then also like I've had opportunities to go out to Montreal just for laughs and go and see some big comics out there, right? Getting to experience that and watch them work is just like wow, Andrew Schultz, for instance, like he's now one of the biggest comics in the world, right? I had a chance. I just missed him twice. I almost met him, but I've seen him perform now, which is great. But there's a lot of like, I've realized how new comedy is. People don't realize like comedy is very new in the grand scheme of like art forms. Music has been for hundreds of years. Comedy's like stand-up comedy in the form that people know today has only really been around like less than 100 years now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like household yet. It's not everybody. A lot of the times, like people will say, it's like, I've never actually been to a comedy show. A lot of people, many people I've met, they're like, this is my first time at a show, or this is my first time at an actual show or a local show. Because, when Kevin Hart comes to town, they'll go to the stadium,
Yeah.
But they don't know that there's a comedy club down the street that does this every day, So so that's one thing.
So you mentioned someone like Kevin Hart. Is that one of the people you look up to? Who are the comedians that you look up to?
Yeah, definitely Kevin Hart. Like his work ethic is just through the roof. He's constantly working, constantly trying to get better. Dave Chappelle, someone that that I really admire as well too, where he's able to convey a message with what he's saying. And that's a big thing. For me right now as a comedian, it's about trying to tell a story, but also tell jokes. Right? How do I teach, or how do I tell a story through the jokes? And the one thing too that people always say is with performance, you don't remember what they say, but you remember how you feel after. Right? So it's about what feeling do I want them to leave with? What I mean? Do I want them to leave? It's like, wow, that was a great show. I feel like I learned something, but it was also funny. Like that's my goal. Right now, where it's all just like, or they feel like they know me better, or they understand my life better, or the life of a Sudanese person in Canada better. That's my goal, Yeah.
From the Def Jam comedians, people like Bunny Mac, Michael Blackson, I guess contemporary. Are you hoping that you'd work with any one particular or a few comedians? Do you have anybody in mind that you hope to work with?
Oh man, that would be That's always a tough question. I never, there's so many people.
Okay.
I would love to work with, obviously, like a Steve Harvey is hilarious.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like Cedric the Entertainer, like the Kings of Comedy, so
Yeah,
funny. And
the
Bernie
Kings
Mac
of
is one of my
Comedy, yes.
favorites.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're amazing. Obviously, like a Kevin Hart, that would be great.
Yeah.
Great to see. A Bill Burr, he's great as well.
Yeah.
And there's so many comics that it's just like, oh, like you always forget, but then there's a lot. Those would be like, I would love to have a chance to work with them, whether it's on stage or in some capacity, even like a Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Actually, I should say one of my favorite meetings was I met this comedian named Tony Woods.
Tony Woods.
Yeah, his name's Tony. Not many people.
From I think he did like a few Def Jam.
Yeah. So he has been.
Yeah, very hilarious guy. I know. Yeah, he did a joke.
He's actually. Yeah.
Is either he did a joke about being in a swimming pool in Jamaica or something like that. That's him, right?
I think was that when. Oh man, I'll need to rewatch it. It sounds
somebody
familiar.
peed in the pool, and all of a sudden there's like a blue around him. And stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's him. Yeah.
So people don't know this, but he's actually like Dave Chappelle's mentor.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah. So he came to Winnipeg to perform for a week. Yes. And he was just like, hey, are you busy after the show? I was like, no. We talked for hours and hours. He told me stories about just doing comedy around the world. He told me stories about like my favorite comedian. He showed me pictures, videos, like just like the full experience of like what this comedy and his life is like. He used to be in the military. He's done comedy. He's like 65 years old, but he's been around the world traveling, just doing comedy his whole life, and has met some of the most interesting people and been able to experience some stuff just through comedy. And it's just like great to see, what you can really do with this, where it's all like, he's not a household name. He's not there. Like not everybody knows him, but everyone that needs to know him knows. Every comedian is like Tony Woods is a good guy. That's what you want to have, is whatever room people are talking about you in, they're saying good things even when you're not there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that's definitely Tony Woods, because I remember the swimming pool joke, and of course his many other jokes. But I like his style. He's very smooth about it, like laid back.
Exactly.
But you get like, man, this guy knows how to knock it hard. Right?
Exactly.
So is that your style? What's your style like? Your comedy style?
I'm a little bit high energy. I'm more high energy. I try to really paint the picture of what's going on. I try to get people to think the way I'm thinking. So when I'm on stage, I try to really like outline my thought process when I'm going into a situation, because a lot of my life, like a lot of my jokes are storytelling. I'm telling a story about something I experienced or something that happened or something I saw. But for it to be funny, I need to make sure that they're thinking the way that I'm thinking. So it's very much like trying to set the stage. Where was I? What was I wearing? What did I look like? What did I see? What did I see? And then I hit them with, okay, this is how it went. This is why it's silly. This is why it's, So I really try to paint the picture, but I'm very high energy, active, facial expressions. I'm moving on stage. I'm sweating. I bring a towel on stage. Very high energy. Yeah.
Okay. There's one guy who is similar with you like that. Basket Mouth from Nigeria.
Yeah.
You know Basket Mouth, right?
Yeah, I know Basket Mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, he was recently here in Edmonton, and we had a
okay.
Call. Yeah,
Nice.
I like his stuff, and I guess your style also, because I've seen a little bit of your content. I get to see a similarity between you and Daliso Chaponda, the guy who came second runner-up, I think, in the Britain's Got Talent. Do you remember that guy? He's from Malawi.
No, I don't remember him.
Okay, check out his stuff. Daliso Chaponda. He's pretty good. Yeah. Same kind of style. He's also a good storyteller. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So let's get back a little bit into the African side of you. I guess to see a little bit of African comedy in Canada, but it's not that much. Do you prefer to stick to the Canadian platforms like the comedy clubs and going that route, or do you prefer to like mix and mingle with the African side too? Because the African audience is pretty big. There's like 1.2 billion of us out there. Is that something you're thinking of looking up?
I want to be able to connect with African people. You know, I tell people all the time, especially in Winnipeg.
Yes.
There's a lot of black people, but they don't come to my shows. But they support me online. Online, they always support me, but they don't come out to the show. And I'm just like, I need to find a way to break it, because those are my people, you know? Yeah. It's funny because I have a really close friend of mine. We call him the old ball coach.
Okay.
His name is Ben Walker, very funny comedian.
Okay.
But he'll do a show and he'll bring out more Africans than I'll come. so he was working at Rumors recently, and he was joking with me. He's all just like, "Hey, I bring out more Africans than you do." I was like, "I know, man. I'm trying to figure out what you're doing that I need to do." You know? Yeah. But yeah, no, I love the African community, man. Such a rich culture. Everyone's so funny. You know what I mean? It's just great. And that's one thing I do want to be able to do, is connect with my own people, because that's what everyone wants to do, right? It's just the opportunities there. And I think as I travel, you know, more in 2024, my goal is I want to come out to Alberta. I want to do shows in Edmonton, in Calgary, in Lethbridge. You know, those three are on my list, and I'm already setting up like plans to go out there. You know, earlier in the year, and like connect with people, because there's a huge African community out there. Yeah, you know, very big, and it's about like finding out how I can connect with them, right? And you know, try to expand that.
You know, I'd make a suggestion to you. There's African comedians like Salvador. He's from Uganda. People like Basketmouth, Bovi, the Nigerian comedians generally, even the South African comedians. You know. If you can combine energy with one or two of them, and then do like an East-West kind of Canada-wide tour, even in the States, it will make for a big chance for you to mint some good bucks, you know? Yeah. Because they already have the African audience, and then you'll also have you'll bring along your Canadian side, which will complement well. And then, of course, that gives you an opportunity also to cut into the African market, which is back home.
Exactly.
I'll tell you about a promoter who was here. His name is DJ Chi. He was doing events in Edmonton, but because he started here, now he's filling up stadiums with the Peace Squares and the who in Africa, right? So sometimes it's good you look at your opportunities. The clubs may give you something, but it's also good for you to look at the other side where you can get some bucks, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's always opportunity. And you know, one thing we were talking earlier about, you know, I've lost my language, but one thing that my goal is to get my Arabic back. Okay. You know, I only know a little bit under the akulu, you know. You know, I know under the akulu, and then what? Asira, Aras, you know, Molokudra. I know the foods, I know, but I need more. I guess I'll suggest for you to subscribe to my wife's channel. She teaches Juba Arabic online. Yes, I'm an author. I have books on our language, which is generally the same language you speak, your parents, I guess. The Bari, Kakua, Pojulu, you know, those in Central Equatorial South Sudan. Yeah. But I also have a Juba Arabic book. Unfortunately, I wrote it completely in Juba Arabic because that was the way I wanted it. Yeah. But my wife then uses the same book and many other resources to teach folks like you who want to learn, expatriates who go to South Sudan. So I'll send you her YouTube channel, and then you can pick up a few things. Yeah, that's great. Because again, being able to, you know, connect with the language again is just is an important part, as well as going back home. Yeah, you know, I don't want to go back home and not understand, or, you know, need a translator. No, I want to go back home and just be able to navigate on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll write that down and make sure
Perfect.
I share that with you. So
Yeah.
you mentioned something about Africans supporting.
Yeah.
It's like that. If you're South Sudanese, you open your shop and you're expecting South Sudanese to come support you. Sometimes it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very tough.
Yeah, our people are not like, for example, the Jewish community.
Yeah. Very supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm. There's a South African speaker. I guess he's an investor. He's big, called Vusi Tembakwayo. He was talking about this Yiddish, which is Jewish word called fargen.
Yeah.
So the word fargen, let me just get it straight. It's a Yiddish word which basically means wholeheartedly celebrating the success of others, right?
Yeah.
And so from that, then you can, combine and bring the community together, connections. Like if I know Emmanuel is having a comedy session somewhere, I will go support Emmanuel. Although it may mean I'm losing out in a way, but I know Emmanuel's success means a success for us.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you a personal example. Every time I wanna, fix my car, I take it to my brother-in-law here. He's a mechanic. He has a garage.
Yeah.
But everybody tells me, why do you take it to him? His services really suck. But deep down, I know, and he's not very reliable and this or that. I said, no. I prefer to keep it in the community, right?
Yeah.
Because if we push each other up, it's good. If I go to him, then I can have a chance to talk to him and say, you know what, next time maybe fix this, fix that, do this better, do that. That way we all grow. If we don't support each other, we'll never grow, right?
Yeah. That's the truth. A lot of communities, and they say that, and that's one thing that a lot of, Black leaders say often, where it's just like, the Jewish community supports the Jewish community. The Chinese community supports the Chinese community. The white community supports the white community. And the Black community supports all their communities. Right? So we really need to remember that, start at home first, and so that we can grow, right? Like we're a very influential, very large part of the West, and we need to remember that and remember the power that we hold in unity, right? That's very important.
Yeah. So I guess I'm big on words too. There's a German word called Schadenfreude, which is the opposite of Vergehen. So and that's who we are. We never want to celebrate the goodness. Emmanuel is doing it good. Oh, good for Emmanuel, right?
Yeah.
No, I'll smile and be happy. Oh, Emmanuel had a horrible experience yesterday. He bombed really bad. So I'll be like, good. I don't know why, but African people are like that in many ways.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can change it. Right?
Yeah. It's that crab in the bucket mentality.
Yes.
Have you ever heard? Yeah, exactly. Yes. That crab where the crab that's about to get out, instead of thinking they're gonna come pull the other ones up, they'll pull him down.
Yeah. It's and sometimes I liken it to our people back in the village. Most African villages you go to, we call them tukuls, mud hut. From generations and generations and generations, long time ago, people built mud huts, grass thatch for the roof. Round, same. You go from one village to the next village, same. Try to go build your own and fix it. Say, I'm going to build a 3-story building. Like, who are you? Why do you want to be better than us? So they try to bring you down. So you have the same mud hut, same, but I think that mentality has passed its time. Maybe in the past it was good. The communal community kind of pull each other together. Let's be at the same level. Right now, it's not helping us at all. Right?
No.
We need to change. Don't you think so?
We need to start leveling up. I understand. And they need it's like, it takes time. Maybe it's one person that's up now.
Yeah.
But we need to realize that person will be able to bring the next one and then the next one and then the next. And it takes time, and patience is a big part of it, right? Where you need to know, like for me, when I see someone doing well, I don't think I remember. I'm like, it's just their turn. My turn's coming. I'm not, I'm willing to play the long time. My turn's on the way. You know, so it's good to celebrate them. So then when it's your turn, they're celebrated as well. And then in turn, when you're celebrated, you want to find opportunities to help the people that supported you, right? Because, you know, you don't want to just turn your back on them. You want to turn around and be like, you know what? How can I help this next person also get to where I am? Because I'm happy that I've succeeded, but I'll be happier if they succeed too, you know?
Yeah. You know, sometimes we make the assumption that comedians, you know, are funny people, so they're always happy. So is it the same case with you? What makes you laugh? Who makes you laugh?
You know what? I laugh every single day, which is a blessing. I didn't know that. I've talked to people and they're confused. They don't laugh every day. Some people don't laugh I'm like, I'll laugh until I'm in tears sometimes every day, being around other comedians, just watching funny things like TV shows or something, or just the joy of life. Or even if I think of something, if I'm like, because every day I try to write. That's another big thing, right? Where I try to write, but when I'm writing, I'm very much just quiet, just thinking. And then when I think of something funny, I'll laugh on my own, right? So I'll say, like, I'm always making jokes, but a lot of the time I might be silent. I might not even look like I'm thinking about anything. So, but that's truly when I'm like doing the most thinking about like something funny, when I am quiet. So I'll say, like, the things that I find the funniest, I mean, just, I never know where I'm going to find something funny. I try, like, honestly, I've had bad things happen, and someone's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry about that." And then now my mind is so comedian. I'm like, "No, this is gonna be funny later. This will be funny later." So sometimes I don't even get upset properly because I'm like, "Oh, I can make this a joke next week."
I should jot this down. You are like a writer too, right? Because for us it's the same. You always want to carry a note or something. You pen it.
Notebook, I have it, my car got towed. I'm like, this will be funny later. Okay. I'm walking to the tow truck place thinking of, how is this going to be a joke? Okay, how do I make this funny, you know? But it's like, Emmanuel, your car got towed. You have to go pay money to go get your car back. How are you making jokes?
You obviously do get material from everywhere. How about the crowds in the comedy clubs? Have you had a situation where, like, you had a rough day in the clubs? And how do you deal with those tough crowds?
With those tough crowds, you have to power through. You know, you have to remember that, like, it's gonna happen. Not every day is gonna be your day. Not everyone's gonna get you every time, you know. So on those days, I just try to, because, like, whenever I'm doing well, that's when I can explore. You know, I can try new things. The crowd is on my side. But whenever it's like a tough crowd, that's when I have to rely on my material and just be like, okay, I need to just focus on what I prepared. You know, just get through it. Like, this works. Some days it's tougher than others, where it's just like one joke one day will be the funniest joke that you say, and then the next day nobody even reacts. Right? Oh, wow. So it's just, and then it's like, okay, if it works one of two times, what worked, what didn't work? Find out where. And it's all about trial and error, right? Whenever writing a joke, people always talk about how long does it take to write a joke. I'm all like, it can take a week, it could take a year, it could take, 6 years. You never know when a joke is finished, because you might be adding on to it, because especially with someone like myself, where a lot of the jokes come from life experience, I might not have had an experience to add to this joke yet, right? Where I talk about different things, right? Whether it's like my thoughts on, life or religion or people or, relationships, but sometimes I haven't experienced a part yet that I'm gonna, because I've had times where, like, I'll write a joke that I wrote 2 years ago, and then I'll be sitting down looking at it, and I'm like, oh, I know how to make this work now. Whereas before it never worked, but now I have more experience. I have more techniques, and I can now make this joke work, right? So, but on those nights when things aren't going well, I just focus on my material, and I'm like, let me just go through everything that I have prepared, because that's what I know. That's what I know. This has worked. So just power through. Someone's having a good time, and for me, if one person said they had a good time, that's enough. That's a win. one person at a time. You could only I only focus on, even if the one person's myself sometimes. You know.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, yes, yeah. As long as you deliver, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Especially if I've done well in the past, so I know I'll do well in the future. Sometimes it doesn't work, but it doesn't, discredit my ability.
Okay. So you just had your special. Tell us a little bit more about it, and what's your plan for the future?
Yeah, so my special daydreams. I'm hoping to have it out early next year.
Yeah.
And my plan for it, a couple options. So I'm not sure. I could go the YouTube route.
Okay.
I might, just put it on YouTube. But I might also leverage it to try to get some representation.
Yes.
Try to get an agent or something to try to, help shop around and see what value it has right now, or see where I can get it, right? I want to be able to be a professional comedian, and this is the big part of making that happen, is getting representation so that the industry knows I'm serious and start to get booked across the country, get some more exposure, right? Because you can only do so much on your own, and I know that, and that's another thing that kind of goes back to the African community. Like if you wanna go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go with a group.
Yeah.
Exactly, you go together, and it's about finding the right team, and that's, I think, what the next step is. So I'm gonna use this to try to find the right team, like who's someone that can help get this in the right hands. So, but next year I want to have it out early, whether I post a part of it or a preview. I might sell it. I might just do on my own and be like, hey, on my website, it's $10 to support me, and you get your own digital copy kind of thing, and see if that works. Maybe that's the route that is best for me, right? So I'll a couple options, but early next year, definitely I want to have it out by like before summertime.
Oh, okay. That's really
Yeah.
good. So the thing is, people will be asking, okay, this Emmanuel, he's a comedian. The sweetness of the food is in the tasting. What is your favorite joke, and what was the best one that you've written and performed? Maybe just throw us a bit of that so people can experience you.
Yeah, my favorite joke actually right now, I'd say, is actually a joke about Trojujuk.
Oh, okay.
No, so my mom, this so it's like dried fish from back in Sudan. My mom used to cook Trojujuk all the time, but it's a very, very strong smell.
Okay.
So whenever she cook it, we'd smell like Trojujuk for days. so I joke about how when I go to school as a kid, all the kids would make fun of me. Oh, you smell like fish. You smell like fish. But then I'm like, but kids smell like milk or pee. So you smell too. I smell like fish.
Yeah.
The teacher smells like yeast. We all smell. Why? Why is it my smell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I like talking about, growing up back home. Another one, I talk about my city, and I know most cities. I always tell people, man, if you have a bike is in one of two places. The bike is either stolen or it's about to get stolen, because everyone just gets their bike stolen in my city. Somehow. It's just somehow they have. I don't know if they have a lock bike pick something. I bought a bike. I had it for 3 days.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't buy bikes anymore,
Somebody comes shopping.
Exactly. No, yeah.
You know the joke about the bike and the kid, right? So it's
no.
I guess. So this little kid was busy praying every day. He looks at his family. Everybody prays, right? So he does the same. So he keeps praying. Dear Father, dear God, I pray that you give me a gift this Christmas. I want a bike. So he kept praying. Year 1, year 2. No bike. So he said, you know what? He went and stole a bike. So then he came and prayed and asked for forgiveness, right? So he said, somehow, it's prayer. So his prayer has been answered.
Yeah.
So it's just like that. I'm not a good comedian. You're better at it than me.
It was a good delivery, though.
Yeah. Yeah, your comedy. So what do you do to ensure you deliver a funny joke, but at the same time you stay away from offending people, because it's a very thin line between the two sometimes.
I've realized, and it's funny because that comes from like my professional side is what I lean on to be able to properly deliver, information. Because I know that sometimes it's not the topic or the content matter, it's the words that you use to say it.
Yes.
Right? And I know there's a certain point at which people will get offended by anything, and I don't even consider those people because I know and then the other thing is my intent. People can tell that my intent is genuine. I'm trying to make someone laugh. Yeah. And then in the way that I choose the words is very important. So, if I'm talking about like something very political or a touchy subject, I might preface it by saying, I'm not a political person. Or I might try to draw a fact that it's just like this has nothing to do with their politics. Yeah. This is just about them as a person. This is just funny if anyone did it. Exactly. Right. So so I was like, for instance, I made a joke on my Instagram the other day about the President Joe Biden. It was his 81st birthday. Yeah. Right. But he had a cake and it had 81 candles on it.
Oh wow.
I was like, that's too many candles. You're going to burn this place down. No matter if you're the president or if you're a janitor, that's too many candles to have on a cake. The cake just looked like a bonfire. I was like, this is too much fire. This is dangerous. They should have
taken like a candle with the 8 and 1 and then
get the numbers. Exactly.
The numbers,
Wow. 81 is too many. You have to get the numbers at that point. That's a fire hazard.
Yeah. So how do you come up with your material? Apart from I know you mentioned like and maybe combine it with how you prepared for this special that you just had recorded. How do you combine?
So it's all about like like I said, family life stories, day-to-day life. But when I'm preparing like a full special, it's about how does one joke lead into the next joke.
Okay.
Right? Because it is like, sometimes it's like in the beginning it's very tough because I don't have a lot of material, but now I have a bunch of material and I'm like, okay, I start out talking about growing up. Okay, now I can go into, growing as a teen, talk about relationships. And then from relationships, I could talk about breaking up or I could talk about divorce. And then I could talk about, so it's about what joke can lead into the next joke and finding a natural flow.
Okay.
If I'm talking about water and then I'm talking about fishing, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
It's like, water and fish. But if I'm talking about like water and I talk about the moon, it's like, how does that connect? It's very tough to, you want to make sure that there's a general flow to it, especially with storytelling. It has to make sense. So that's one thing that I try to focus on when I'm writing is how does this tie into my last joke?
Okay. So in terms of making the joke, right? Like, do you like bounce it off some people when you've written your joke so that you test it out, or how do you go about it?
Sometimes I'll work with other comedians and ask them like, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'll bounce it off people. I'll ask people, but at the end of the day, it's do I think it's funny? Mm-hmm. Because that's who I'm writing it for. Yeah. A lot of the times, like people come to comedy shows to experience something else.
Yeah.
And and I need to remember that it's like if it's genuine to me, if I think it's funny, like I'm the professional here, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I always joke. I'm all just like, look, we need the crowd, but I wouldn't take advice from the crowd on comedy. I'm the professional, and their reaction is needed. But I think I know what's best. You know what I mean? I need to be able to have confidence in my own jokes. So I might bounce the idea off people, but I know that I know what's funny. Okay. So
how about like different crowds? Because what may be funny, for example, to the Africans may not necessarily be funny to a traditional Canadian crowd. So how do you then balance the two?
Yeah, that's always the challenge. But it's about feeling the crowd out. I always try to do like a couple things, like, because you'll never know until you're on stage. Yeah. But what you can do is you can go look at the crowd before, see who's in the room. Okay, there's a lot of white people here. Oh, there's some Africans. Yeah. No, there's a mix. There's Asian people. There's Chinese. Okay, this is a nice mix of people. So then when it's a mix of people, it's way easier.
Yeah.
because you can start to test what works for everybody, and then you can play in that field, but and then again, if it's like a specific event, like if I'm doing a charity event for the African group, I'm okay, I know who's coming. Right, then it's easy, but important to like see the crowd, and then also test. I also like, in the beginning, my jokes that I do are very generic, very like, okay, this is more just about life. Like, okay, I'll do like, oh man, being in this city, or how's everyone doing? Just try to feel it out. And then as it goes on, then I'll talk about myself. And then and then by then I'm usually like, okay, I know what's going on with the crowd now. I know what they like to hear, I know what they don't like to hear, what they like funny, and then how do I get everybody, so.
Have you been in those Def Jam kind of situations, like the story of Bunny Mac? What's the famous one? I ain't scared of you.
I ain't scared of you. Yeah.
So the story goes, the reason he said that is because somebody went before him, and the guy really bombed very bad, and he was like really booed hard. So Bunny Mac comes next, and he's like, I'm not scared of you people, no matter what you do. And it became like his biggest thing ever.
Staple.
Yeah, his staple, right? So I hope you don't get into a situation like that. Right? So,
I haven't yet.
You haven't,
but that is one of the greatest comedy stories to ever happen, because it's just and it's such a Bernie Mac story, right? Because he was so fearless. He was, he wasn't scared of anybody, even the crowd. Like, he treated them like enemies, and they loved it. He's telling his jokes, and then, I'm not scared of you, and he tells another joke, I'm not scared of you. So it's just. But that's the confidence that, like, that's where I kind of get it from, where it's like that confidence of knowing I'm the one with the jokes. I have the jokes. I know it's funny. I don't even need you to tell me if it's funny. I know it's funny. Next one.
I got that feel of you from the episode of Wet. What's Emmanuel thinking? The first episode, when you're talking about those podcasts and your numbers on YouTube. So I immediately knew, like, you have that Bunny Mac feel to you, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
And I encourage you to keep pushing, keep grinding. You'll go very far. There's always a hurdle, You may not necessarily get it one day. Next time you'll get it. I don't know how people like Russell Peters do it, because he's always like, he has his style. Rip the Jamaicans, rip the Indians, and it's like you'll get hurt really bad or whatever. But everybody gets their style, and as you grow, you get to cultivate yours. But yeah, I really look forward to seeing more of you out there. There's young boys and young girls out there. There's many people, even old people, who would want to pursue their dreams, the comedy, the art, whatever. What word would you give them as a point of advice? Because you've been doing your professional side for a bit, then you're like, you know what? This is my dream, to go into comedy. Let me do it. And you've been doing it for about 3 years now. What advice would you give people out there?
I would say 2 important things. Cover your bases.
Okay.
And then chase your dreams.
Okay.
Cover your bases. So that means, your phone bills are paid, because you need to be able to talk to people. Whatever your bases are to live are taken care of, because then you free up your mind without stress to properly pursue your dreams creatively. Okay. Right. And with that, it takes sacrifice. I didn't always work remote. I used to work in office, so I'd work an 8-hour day. Okay. And then if it's truly your passion, you'll find energy for it. Whether it's an hour, 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day is a lot of time for something, 2 hours, find some time here and there. And then eventually it'll become more and more and more, right? Where my first couple of years, I wasn't making any money from comedy. Now I'm not doing well, but I'm now like, it's a large portion of my income for a year is doing comedy now, right? Where it's like, you can build, but it started out for me, it was a half an hour every day, was like, okay, I need to write something, and then I might go perform. I might go to a stage and they're like, you have 3 minutes, you have 5 minutes. Okay, that's all I need. And then now eventually I'm doing shows now where it's like I'm a headliner, you're doing 45 minutes, you're doing an hour. You have 10 minutes. So, but you have to build. It takes time, and you need to remember that the goal is not a target. Like the journey is the goal. That the whole journey, that's the goal right there. The whole journey, not just the end, you know?
Okay.
You have to really fall in love with the process.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'd say to them, you know. So cover your bases and then chase your dreams, and the goal is the journey as a whole, you know.
Okay. I have a segment called 3 questions. So I get to ask you 3 questions, and then you answer. And then after that, I have a second one. So let's start with the 3 questions. So, first question: why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side.
Okay, I guess that's the generic one, right? You got it. You have to get to the other side. That's like a very Canadian joke.
Yeah.
What is a computer's favorite snack? You're in IT. You're in tech.
Oh, chips.
Microchips. Okay. You're too smart for this thing, man. You're just knocking it down. Okay. Number 3. How do robots eat pizza?
I don't know.
Okay. 1 bite at a time.
Bite,
okay. Like BYTE, right?
Yeah, okay.
Very nutty. Very nutty kind of jokes. Okay. The second segment is called Rapid Fire.
Okay.
Okay, so basically this is, you don't have to get scared. I'm not going to shoot or anything. This is either or. Okay?
Yeah.
Number 1, Mac or PC?
Mac.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
American muscle cars or German machines?
German machines.
Okay, you're a Mercedes guy, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. The Maybach and all that. Paperback books or ebooks?
Paperback.
Okay. Headphones or speakers?
Headphones.
Okay. Does that mean you're an introvert?
It really you know what? It really depends. Sometimes I am an introvert. I do like my alone time. I do I appreciate my time alone is very important to, you know, yeah.
So for people out there who want to, you know, have a feel of Emmanuel's content, how can they reach you? What are your social media handles?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Lomuro. So ELOMURO. My website is emmanuellomuro.com. So on that I'm starting to put more content on there. I have all my shows and events, upcoming shows. You can learn a little bit about me on there as well. And then my YouTube channel, just my name, Emmanuel Lomuro, and that's where my podcast is. And I have my podcast on Spotify as well. Soon to be on all streaming platforms. But yeah, the What Emmanuel's Thinking podcast, it's gonna be good in the coming year. Next year I'm actually gonna be starting another podcast as well. But that one's gonna be like I'm gonna interview other people as well. So that one's gonna be a new one. But yeah, for right now, just those 3. You know, my website, my Instagram, and my YouTube podcast. Those are how you can get to know me and follow all my content. You know.
Yeah. And then to our people in South Sudan and to our leaders, what would you say?
You know, I'd say, you know, peace no matter what. We need to find a way to really be collaborative, you know, because there's a lot of people that do want to go home, but they're very still wary, you know, and you know, for myself, I'm in a lucky position where I have family that are in politics, so, you know, it's okay for me, but you know, not everyone wants it, and the world's always watching. That's the other thing too, and the world is always watching. You know, so it's important for us. I understand we're the youngest nation in the world, but that just, you know, that just means we need to be better. We have, you know, a lot of good examples around the world. But I truly believe in Sudan. Our culture, our people are some of the best in the world. So talented, just we need to be able to showcase that so people can see what we truly are.
What's your one favorite thing about Africa or South Sudan in particular?
Right now, the food. Definitely the food is underrated.
Okay.
In Winnipeg, there's no Sudanese restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's one thing. Every other place has their own restaurant. Man, I love Sudanese food, aras, everything's just delicious. Yeah. But that's one thing that's a lot of people don't know is that Sudan has some of the best food in the world.
Yeah. Do they have like a heritage festival? I know we have it here in Edmonton.
We have Folkorama.
Oh, okay. That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's always a good place to go sample all kind of dishes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe a little bit. So if you like Sudanese food, that means you either know how to cook or you find somebody who cooks. Do you have somebody who cooks for you?
Oh yeah, my mom cooks all the time. I'll go pick up food.
That's not what I mean, man. That's not what I mean. Are you married? Do you have a woman?
No, I'm not married right now.
Okay. So look out. Maybe you'll get a few once this thing goes out there. You might get a few messages in your DM.
Maybe.
For us, there's a lot of arranged marriages, so there's a lot of matchmaking. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's been nice talking to you, brother.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. Last word for the folks who are watching this podcast. Sit down with me, Dedi Seyi. What would you tell them?
I'd say this is honestly it's a great experience. Great conversation. You really do let the person talk, the interviewer talk, and get to really talk about who I am and as a person. Very great conversation, very great questions. Truly entertaining. I'm excited for this to come out. I think that people will really like what they're here to see. Truly get to learn more about people and connect with new people that they may not know. It's going to be great.
I appreciate that, brother. I really do appreciate it. And so for folks out there, please go out and follow and like and share this content, and especially Brother Emmanuel's YouTube and Facebook. Go into his website. There's great content coming out. He just had his special, so I encourage you. This has been the Sit Down with me, Dedi Seyi in Edmonton and Emmanuel in Winnipeg. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.
Manatu, I am the GOAT, so take it easy. The greatest of all time, and if it's so easy, mata ulana hasiyana busy, yaki ana gana maya. Tawali befire, mi bidaya la hadi nihaya, rappers kulu carry tires, zaman takun zatu khalas get expired, my suan lakini narana mezaya.